Hello, heathens. Welcome to, well, kind of fall. It's reading fall already. I mean, technically we're not in actual, meteorological fall, but in the community of reading, it is definitely fall, autumn. It is the vibe. I mean, to be fair, it has been raining non-stop. I think the sun has come out just now in the UK, in Brighton. So it's been suitably miserable, which is great. For reading all of the fall vibe books. Now, I've posted a few videos because winter and fall are my favorite reading months, times of the year, seasons, because it just really speaks to the kind of books and the kind of genres that I most like to read. I do think I read fairly broadly, but the things that I really love and the things that speak to my cold black soul are the gothic books, are the dark fairy tales, are the very kind of lyrical, dark, beautiful, disorientating writing, the kind of things you can sort of soak into, the dark academia, all of those vibes. Now, like I said, I have done a few videos. Don't worry, strap in, they're going to be a lot more. And I've also been watching, I think, every video that every creator on YouTube has posted in terms of fall, autumn recommendations. But I thought, and this is absolutely no shade because I mentioned a lot of the same books as well, I thought I am hearing a lot of the same books because they're good and they need to be recommended or they're currently popular. And I kind of thought it would be fun to do a recommendations video for fall, autumn recommendations that I love that nobody else, well, maybe a few other people, but not many, not many people are talking about, and ones that I maybe have not seen in my extensive research of a lot of videos because I'm obsessed, have seen. So we've got a little stack here. Well, it's not that little, it's quite large. So get yourself a drink, get yourself a snack, strap in, get yourself a pumpkin, chomp down on that baby. And here are my books that I love. And again, these genres, so a lot of these have slightly spooky-ish vibes, but they're not like proper spooky season books because those are coming end of the month for October, of course. So I'm trying to not go down the very horror, very scary route. These are more vibey. These are vibes. A lot of dark fairy tales. Okay, so first book. I got my flat white to pick myself up. Okay, first book is this one. This is by Simone St. James. Now, if you've been on my channel before, you may have heard me say that I am a Simone St. James stan. I love her work. And the reason I love her work is because she takes thriller books and infuses the supernatural in them, and I like that. Now, I understand that some people don't, so if you don't, skip to the next book. But with this one, what I love with this one specifically, so this is An Inquiry into Love and Death by Simone St. James. This is actually almost a blend of three different things. So it's thriller, mystery, it's romantic suspense, essentially. There's romance in it. And there's also this kind of historical aspect because it's set in the 1920s. And then there's also the supernatural aspect of this, which I love, like the paranormal supernatural aspect, so you take all of those things, you shake them together. This book is also set at the end of autumn. So it's actually set in September going into October towards it finishes just before Old Hallows Eve. So it's kind of the perfect season. It's also set, as you can see on the cover, on kind of the stormy, I think it's the Devon coast here in the UK in the 20s. Perfect atmosphere. So this book is about our protagonist. She is actually studying at Oxford. So she's one of the first women that's studying at Oxford, which I think is really, really cool. But right at the beginning of the story, she gets a phone call to say that her uncle has very sadly passed away. And they want her to go and kind of, first of all, identify him, harrowing, but also go and set his affairs in order, go down to Devon, to this cottage that he was renting there, kind of collect his stuff, because the landlady wants it all out, and sort out his will. And the reason she has to do it is because her parents are away on like a conference in Paris and they basically can't be bothered. She's a little annoyed about that, but she jumps in her car. It's very cool. She's one of the few women that has a motor car. And she trundles off down to Devon. And when she gets there, she starts to investigate her uncle's life. Now, one thing, and this isn't a spoiler, this is on the back of the book, one thing you need to know about her uncle is he had a very interesting career, which caused a lot of conflict within her family. And also, she hasn't seen her uncle since she was 12 years old because her parents had a falling out with him and he kind of disappeared from her life. But before that, she really loved him. She was very close to him. She remembers really good times with him. His job was as a ghost hunter. So yes, there is your paranormal element. He was a ghost hunter, and we suspect that he went to this town to uncover a specific, I think his name was Walking John, if I remember correctly, but a specific ghost that haunts this town, and he wanted to investigate more about that. So as we go through the story, we uncover that. We uncover things about her family, kind of secrets and lies. People go missing here. You have like a thriller aspect. She meets a very cute detective from Scotland Yard who is down here investigating something, and also gets involved in the investigation of her uncle's demise, because he may or may not have demised himself. And they end up having a romance. I love this book. I love the 1920s. I love anything set in the 1920s as well. I thought the whole atmosphere, the whole story, all of those genres put in one book is kind of the perfect book for the fall autumn season. So if you're looking for a good thriller, I recommend. Then if we continue on the sort of paranormal ghost train, can I recommend The Whispering Dark by Kelly Andrew. Now, there's a second book. These are not like a series, but I believe, because I've got it on deck, I haven't read it yet, believe some of the characters from this book actually show up in that, and that one is called My Blood, Your Bones, or Your Bones, My Blood, something like that. But I've heard one person say, read the first book first, which is this one. And I have been meaning to read this for ages, and I can recommend it. It is fantastic. So this falls under dark academia, and it also falls under wonderfully, blissfully, disorientatingly weird. You don't know what's going on a lot of the time, but I love the ride. It's also set in autumn, perfect time of the year. And it also has kind of weird, eerie, paranormal, ghosty kind of vibes to it. So in this one, you have our main character. She is off to university, and she's been accepted into this university that is... So the program that she's in, it's kind of... It's hard to describe. I'm going to do my best here. But they step between worlds. So these are all people that have some sort of a supernatural-ish power. And you find out that it's because all of these people they kind of flatlined for a certain amount of time and then were brought back. And she gets like a scholarship to be part of this program. And the aim of this program is to almost find these like doors in time and step into another world or to another, like a parallel universe, which is very cool. But she's kind of got doubts as to why she was selected, because she doesn't really know why she was selected, and neither do we for a good part of the book. Kind of the backstory starts to unravel, but also the very, very first chapter of this book, kind of the prologue, is her as a child, as a small child, saving a boy from a river. His brother drowned, unfortunately, in the river, and she saved him. So his younger brother drowned, and she saved him. He also flatlined, and he's now a TA at this university. And one of the things that he is told right at the beginning is stay away from Lainey. Stay away from Lainey. Colton, our main male character and our TA in this scene, is not so great at staying away from Lainey, because something about her just draws him in. And the thing is, he recognizes her, like he knows she was the little girl that saved him, but she doesn't. You know, like in the beginning of the book, like she doesn't know where she knows him from, but they try to stay away from each other. They don't. So you have this kind of really cool, almost like, because he's a TA, so it's almost like a forbidden, on a number of levels, love story between the two of them. Love the two characters. Love this kind of mystery, this backstory. What's really going on around here? People start going missing, students start going missing, and they start investigating, and there's this kind of shadowy organization, like secret society in the background, that you get glimpses of, and they're giving Colton instructions. They travel to different places. It's so cool and weird, and then you kind of have this dark academia side of it. I absolutely love this. This book was a trip. It was a ride. I loved it. I think if any of those things sound interesting to you, if you love the vibe, this one is a keeper, and I cannot wait to read her other book. Then the next one, while we're still talking about the paranormal and previously unalived people, The Bone Houses. Now, this is by Emily Lloyd-Jones. Now, I will preface this with saying this wasn't my absolute favorite book in the world, but I do think that it's one that I would recommend for the vibe, and I do think people would like it, so that's why I'm going to recommend it. This is based on like Welsh mythology as well, which is really cool, and I haven't read a lot of books based on Welsh mythology. The author herself is Welsh. So this one, Bone Houses, refers to the recently deceased rising back up. So kind of zombie-ish, but not quite. So it's zombie adjacent, right? And our main character here, she is actually the daughter of the local gravedigger. And her father has gone missing. And then her uncle came and to look after them. He goes missing. But she's digging the graves. But the problem is that these people are rising. So people no longer want to bury, obviously they're deceased. They'd rather burn them because they don't want them coming back. So they're not doing well business-wise. They have a lot of debt. And the guy that owns their house, the debt collectors, are sort of knocking on their door. Now, in a bid to raise some money, she runs into a map maker charter in the town. So the stranger comes into town and he says he draws maps. He makes maps. He's a map maker. And he wants to go out beyond the city into these woods where the bone houses seem to congregate and come from. And again, it's one of these situations where you've got these woods around the town. Like, don't go into the forest, don't go into the woods. And she's like, well, I don't. And she's been fighting bone houses as well. She's quite good at it. When they start to wander towards town. And she's like, well, I'm not keen to go out there and explore. But like, this guy's going to pay me a shed load of money to do it. Kind of need it. So the majority of this book is them two then going off. And she finds out what happened to her father. She's kind of finds out what else is going on in this world, what's causing these people to rise. And there's some very emotional scenes in here. I will say there's a lot of talk around the deceased and what lingers. And it is a very good book. And maybe for me, I was like, I wanted a bit more to happen. I wanted it to be more fast-paced, but it's definitely not fast-paced. It's slow-paced. You can kind of sit with it. You can kind of digest it, and you can kind of read into what the messaging is behind it. But a really interesting concept and a take on that almost zombie-ish style of book that this is very different to any other one in that genre that I've ever read. Then, still talking about ghosts. It is the season for ghosts, apparently, if you're in my house. Gallant. Now, I won't say that no one talks about this book. This is a bit of a stretch. So, this is V.E. Schwab, but what I will say is that I think this was popular. This is an older release of V.E. Schwab's, and I think it was slightly more popular a few years ago. No one really talks about it that much now, and at the moment, all of the V.E. Schwab recommendations that I'm seeing are for Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil and Addie LaRue, which I absolutely 100,000,000% recommend. They're fabulous. But I think those are the ones I'm seeing more of. And I'm not hearing too many people talk about Gallant, but I think Gallant is perfect as well. So this is also the most stunning copy. Now, what you'll see in Gallant, and I do recommend reading this physically, even if you're an audiobook person, is there are drawings throughout. So, I say that, and then the minute I say there's drawings, I'm trying to find a page with a drawing, and I can't bloody find one. There are, drawings throughout this book. So I would recommend, letters and things. So I would absolutely recommend reading this in physical format if you can get your hands on it, because I think it adds to the reading experience. But this one is a personal favorite of mine because it sort of incorporates those genres that I love. So in this one, Olivia as our protagonist, she was kind of dropped on the stairs of a orphanage when she was a baby. I think she was 2 years old, with basically just a notebook or a diary that her mother used to keep, and that's it. She knows nothing else about her family. And she's being raised in this not so nice orphanage. The nuns aren't terribly pleasant. The kids also bully her, and she fights back. I love her, she fights back, but she's seen as very strange. She's an outcast because she's also mute. She can hear, but she's mute. Actually, let me just stop what I'm saying here. The Whispering Dark as well. Can I just say one thing? The author is deaf. She lost her hearing. The main character in here is deaf as well, and she wears a cochlear implant. And I think it's so well done as part of the story as well. So just to say that, there's some great disability rep in this. Let's go back to Gallant, because in this one, our protagonist, she's mute. She does not speak. And she, there was one of the nuns when she was growing up that learned sign language, and she used to talk to her. But then when she went away, no one bothered to learn. So this poor girl can't really communicate. They keep trying to make her write stuff on a blackboard, and she's like, well, screw that. I don't want to do that. So she's not having a great time. And then a letter arrives one day. She's a teenager now, and a letter arrives, and it's basically from her uncle that she didn't know she had, telling her to come to Gallant. He wants her to come. That's their family home. Now, she's heard the word Gallant before. In her mum's diary, The very, very last entry is just stay away from Gallant. I'm paraphrasing that a little bit, but don't go to Gallant, stay away from Gallant. That's the last thing in there. So she's like, interesting. And she's like, well, it can't be worse than this shitty orphanage. Let me go off to Gallant. So driver comes and picks her up. She gets there, knocks on the door of this incredible, the way this house is described. This kind of really gothic, foreboding, gorgeous manor house. Perfect vibes. I think Crimson Peak. And they kind of look at her and go, who the heck are you? And it turns out that her uncle has actually passed away a year previously. And the new master of the house essentially is her cousin, who properly looks at her and says, like, get out, don't you dare come here. And the kind of the servants in the house, they knew her mother and they feel bad for her. So they're trying to keep her there. And all the time her cousin is trying to tell her to get the hell out, because there's something else going on here at Gallant. There's something about this house. Her cousin has to almost feed this house. So when you cut yourself, it's just, the story kind of goes from there. It's so creepy, but beautifully written, because it's V.E. Schwab. It puts me in the mind of my favorite dark fairy tales. And it's a theme that you will see continued in a second. And it's something that I adore. I love books that feel like a twisted, dark fairy tale. And this really, really does. It's sensational. I really, really... Also, other thing, our protagonist, she can see ghosts. That's where the ghost aspect comes in. So she sees ghouls, as she calls them. She sees them at the orphanage. And she sees them at Gallant. And it's creepy, it's spooky, like they would genuinely, and I do not scare, like literally nothing scares me, but there were some scenes where you're like, oh yeah, you want to read this late at night with the lights out. You're welcome. Yeah, when you're screaming terrified, just send me a coffee. So talking about dark fairy tales, now I have recommended this book before, but no one else recommends it. So I'm recommending it. I would recommend this author. I'm going to do a spotlight on some of my favorite authors. And again, some of them are quite, I think, underhyped authors. Some of them, like V.E. Schwab, people know. But Lyndall Clipstone is not an author I hear a lot of people talk about. And I genuinely think she's completely underhyped and deserves so much more love. Now, Lake's Edge... so I'm not going to go on. This is not going to be a Lyndall Clipstone why you should read her video. But Lake's Edge is perfect for the season. It has got those dark, gothic, fairy tale, tragic love story vibes. In this book, our main characters, so our main male character, he's kind of seen as this kind of beast, this kind of tyrant, who his entire family, right? These are the stories that swirl about him. He's the lord up in his manor, in his sort of dark gothic manor, and he is a beast, and everybody's scared of him. But he comes into town every now and again to sort of distribute food and stuff. And at one of these festivals, he sees our main female character, and he ends up taking her back to his house. The reason he takes her back to his house is that he actually wants her younger brother. And she's like, hell no, heck no, you're not having my younger brother. I'm coming too. And she ends up going with him. Now, when we get to his estate, so this is slightly Beauty and the Beast coded, but when we get to his estate, we realize that not all is as it seems. Right. And these two characters start to discover things about each other, about their past, about what's really going on. And there's this kind of like blight in this world, like all around the estate, like the woods are dying. And he has to literally give of himself. And this is where it's a bit similar to what's happening in Gallant, to the earth, to feed the earth. And this is all to do with the Lord Under, so basically like the Lord of the Underworld, and deals and pacts that were made with him by various characters in the past, and these pacts may need feeding. And our story kind of goes from there. It is dark, but it is beautiful, and the love story is excruciating. This had me in tears. It was and the second book, Forest Fall, really, really great as well. I love this book. I love the series. I love this author. And I definitely think if you like dark gothic fairy tales, perfect time of the year for it. Read Lyndall Clipstone. Then this next one, again, is fairy tale based, but is also one that I've I think I've recommended this one before, but again, not one that I hear many people recommend. Kat Dunn's other book, however, Hungerstone, which again, I have up there and is brilliant. I hear recommended a lot, but I don't hear that many people recommend Bitterthorn. And I think Bitterthorn is, whereas Hungerstone, great for spooky season, that's going to be an October recommend. Bitterthorn is very much a kind of seasonal. So this kind of goes through all the seasons, but what I would say is it has that dark gothic fairy tale vibe that I think is perfect for this time of year. So in this world, the village, I can't remember how many years it is, but 50 years, something like that. There's this witch that lives in this gorgeous, amazing, sentient gothic castle up on the hill, and she comes down into the village and she takes a companion. And nobody knows what happens to these companions. They go up, they disappear with the witch, and you never see them again. Usually it's a boy. Usually it's a male companion. But this year, our female main character, she is quite mistreated in her family home. So kind of think Cinderella, by her stepsisters, by her stepmother. And she's trying to find a way out. She sees the witch ride into town and she decides, well, hell, I'll volunteer as companion. Nobody else wants to do it. I'll do it. So the witch, not begrudgingly, I would say, takes her up to the castle to be the companion. And what follows from there is a incredibly, there is not that much that happens in this book, but this is very much character study. This is very much vibes. This is very much atmosphere. But this slow discovery between these two characters of who they are, what's going on, and her main mission is to figure out what actually happened to the previous companions. And she then uncovers what happens, and it's quite scary and it's quite dark, but it's also a beautiful sapphic love story. And it's kind of based around that feel of a fairy tale. So this is one I like, you should read this, just read it. But I think for this time of year, the vibe, it is the literal vibe. Then let's talk about one more fairy tale vibe. So this is Fractured Fables by, you may not recognize the name, Alex E. Harrow. So again, Starling House, which is one I love, Once and Future Witches. That gets recommended a lot, and with good reason. However, I don't hear many people, or actually anyone, I will say, talk about this, and maybe I'm just missing something, but I've never heard anyone talk about Fractured Fables. And this is actually a bind-up of the two. So she wrote 2 Fractured Fables, and this is a bind-up of both of them. So it's a spindle splintered and a mirror mended. Now, you may be able to figure out which fairy tales those pertain to, but I have only read the first one. I loved it. These are like novella length, so they're only like 120, 150 pages long, and I have to go read the other one. So in the first one that I read, a spindle splintered, that is hard to say quickly. It is, of course, the Sleeping Beauty myth, but what this I was not expecting, and what this does so well, is there is a huge amount of humor in this. So the setup is also a little bit similar to Long Live Evil, which is one of my all-time favorite fantasy books, where our main character here, she is terminally ill, and she has known this ever since she was a child. So she's been sick her entire life, and basically with this disease, no one's made it past the age of 22. This is her 21st birthday. We see her on her 21st birthday. So she's like, yep, this is it. I've basically got a year that I'm done. And when she was a child, sort of in and out of hospital, as you can imagine, the fairy tale of Sleeping Beauty really appealed to her, because here's this girl with this like sentence over her head, and then, you know, she gets kissed by the prince and she wakes up, yay, everything's good. So as a sick child, you can imagine how this kind of impressed upon her. But now as an adult, she actually studied at university like folklore, and she's read all these different versions, it's very cool, of Sleeping Beauty. She also recognizes the inherent misogyny and all of the issues with that original fairy tale, you know, consent and stuff. But she was literally that cold. And there's some very dark versions actually of that original fairy tale where more than kissing happens. So she's well aware of it, but she still has this love for it. So her best friend throws her a birthday party for her 21st birthday. That is Sleeping Beauty themed. And then something happens. Okay. And like I said, if you know Long Live Evil, where again, you've got a terminally ill protagonist who ends up going into her favorite novel, she ends up being a character in that world. Let's just say that our main character may enter the world of Sleeping Beauty. It's fabulous. What I love most about this book is it's so short. Alex E. Harrow is really good at short stories, I will say. It is so short, but it packs a punch. I was not left wanting at all. I loved like the messaging. Also, the narrator, she breaks the third wall a lot, and it's very funny, and it made me laugh. And it reminded me a little bit of T. Kingfisher writing, where you have this kind of tragic, but it's actually then you start laughing, and like the commentary that she makes in between. This is phenomenal. If you've not picked this up or read this, I hugely recommend these Fractured Fan. I cannot wait to read the second one. That I'm literally going to read that in the next couple of days, but very, very good. I mean, just Alexia Harrow is very good as well. She's one of my favorite authors. Then, talking about humor with the darkness, I have The Dark Within Us. This is by Jess Pupplewell. And again, I have not seen anybody talk about this or recommend it, and I think it's perfect for the seasons. Also YA, which is very nice because it's slightly lighter. There's no, spicy scenes in this is all, if you're not into that. And it is also about going to hell, which, listen, I'm going to do a whole video about, because I read Calabasas. Can I recommend Calabasas in this video, even though everybody and their uncle is reading Calabasas? Actually, I haven't heard that many people recommend it. I've just heard everybody put it on their TBR. Calabasas is incredible. Read it. But anyway, moving back to this. So this is also set partially in hell. So in this one, our main character, she's having it's quite tragic. She's having a really tough go at life. She's sleeping on her aunt's sofa because she's had a major falling out with her mother. She can no longer live at home. They're very poor, down on their luck. And she's just like, one day she's like, I've just had enough of this life. I'm getting out. But she bumps into this boy at a party, and he has little, it's a Halloween party, right? So this starts at Halloween. He has like little horns on his head, and she's like, oh, cool Halloween costume. And then he's basically saying, your life is a bit crap. Come with me to hell and I can help you out. And she's like, sure, yeah, okay, bye. And then when she runs away, she ends up at the local fair and she sees this boy again, and she's like, and you're still wearing the horns, okay? He's not so much wearing the horns as he is the horns. So he is Lucifer, Luke, okay? And his grandfather was the Lucifer. And his father is currently ruling hell, Seth, which is a great name for a ruler of hell. It turns out that when our main character was a small child, she got her soul stolen by Seth, by Luke's father. And there is something going on in hell that Seth wants her for. So he's basically sent Luke and a very hilarious succubus that, if you've seen the TV series Lucifer, I'm getting vibes, and I adore the TV series Lucifer. A very hilarious succubus to come and retrieve our female main character, take her down to hell for this ceremony that he wants to do. However, Luke isn't really that on board with it, but also he feels really bad for her and he kind of likes her. So he wants to help her retrieve her soul, because he does not think it's correct that she was tricked into basically giving up her soul when she was a small child. She wants her soul back, and she thinks, well, all the things that have gone really badly in my life, maybe because I don't have a soul. And they kind of go on this crazy adventure as they travel down to hell. But like all the things that happen, there's this weird holiday park run by these super creepy twins who are children but are not actually children. They're like demons, and it's just it's creepy in a fun way, in a funny fun way, but also quite dark at times. So it was just the right sort of humor that I like almost like black comedy, right? And if you like something that is set in hell and goes down to hell and has that kind of vibe to it, has that sort of Lucifer, the TV series vibe to it, I hugely recommend this. I think it's super fun, and like I said, I don't hear people talking about it. Then a book that I'm actually in the middle of, or almost in the middle of, this is Crimson Bound by Rosamund Hodge. And again, this is another fairy tale adjacent retelling of Little Red Riding Hood, but in this world, this is very cool. So talking about making deals, selling a soul, this book starts off with our main character. There's this thing about going into the wood. There's always a wood that you're not supposed to go into, right? If anybody's read a fairy tale, will do. However, she wanders into this wood, and on a number of occasions she encounters these entities that they call bloodbound, and they're not werewolves, but they're demonic star. They're basically, the mythology around them is they've sold their soul to like the master, and at some point the master is going to return and take over, and bye humanity, bye world. But she's living with her aunt, and her aunt kind of is supposed to be a defender of like their world, and she's given her all these charms, but she kind of keeps going into the woods, and she keeps meeting this one wolfbound, and he kind of charms her. I think she's like 12 when this story opens up. And he kind of goads her into getting rid of all of her charms. It's like, don't you trust me? Don't you trust me? You're a little girl. Don't you trust me? And she makes the mistake of trusting him, and he turns her into a bloodbound with this like brand and stuff. This is not, I don't know if this is classed as way, but it's definitely she may be young, but like I'd say this is dark. So then we meet her years later, and also the thing is, a bit like in vampire stories, you either pass away after 3 days if you resist this mark, or you have to end someone in order to become a full bloodbound, and she does. And so we join her years later, kind of up on a rooftop, very Nevernight vibes, where she's hunting other blood marks. So she's now in the service of the king, because the king has a group of bloodbounds that kind of help defend the realm and sort of get rid of the others. But there's growing discontent with the peasants, with the people. They're not happy about this. There's kind of political machinations going on. There's things happening in the background. And she is then tasked with bodyguarding the king's son, which she is not happy about. So female knight vibes as well, which I'm loving. Okay, I'm on the female knight train as well. And our story's kind of going from there. Again, it's very beautiful. It's very beautifully written. It's very kind of disorientating and fairy tale-like, which I love. And I love this kind of aspect of her being the bodyguard, her being the knight, her having to protect the heir. And it has a very kind of dark, morally black protagonist, which I love. I love all those things, particularly also the morally black female protagonist. So, and again, I think this one actually, the very beginning is in autumn. I think now we're in summer, but it starts in autumn as well, so perfect for the season. Then if you're still with me, hi. I've got another one. This is Strange Nature. So this is Strange Nature by Mary Watson. Again, not heard anybody talk about this book. And this was fantastic. So this is, I thought this was going to be more supernatural, but I wouldn't, it has paranormal aspects, but it is also at its heart just a really damn good thriller. So this, I believe is YA as well, but it's set, so our protagonist, she's 18, but she's just doing her final year cert at school, and she kind of goes to the local university campus because her grandfather was a lecturer at the university. And in the beginning of the book, I'm trying to think if I can reveal this, yes, because it's right in the beginning of the book, we find out that her grandfather has been in jail for the past like 10 or something years because he tried to strangle her grandmother, kind of out of nowhere, like literally just attacked her one day in the kitchen. And there's this thing about, he went mad, mad scientist kind of thing. He was a researcher, like genetics, medical, that kind of thing. So she tends to hang out at the university still. Her grandmother, Georgie, still has ties to the university. And she always sees this kind of group of people, these two guys, two girls, these friends that study at the university. Most of them are studying journalism. And she's just very intrigued by them. They're very magnetic. They're very intriguing. This has sort of shades of We Were Villains, A Secret History, because they're very quirky. They have these like little rituals they do, these things that they do, and she kind of gets intrigued by them. Then a girl goes missing and she dies, and there's something going on at the university, and it kind of inserts herself, and she pretty much pretends that she's a university student. She becomes friends with this group to figure out what is going on and how this is all tied in. It all ties up in the end, but what is really going in it. And there's this like very enigmatic professor that's kind of taken over her grandfather's role in the university, and he's studying genealogy and genetics, and he's very hell-bent on not aging and that kind of thing. So there's that kind of going on. You have this thriller aspect of what's happening to the students, what's really going on in the background, what was really going on with her grandfather. You've also, like I said, got this group of friends that are very secret history, like Halloween is on this. They go and do something for Halloween. It starts in autumn as well. I thought that this whole book, I could not stop reading it. It was like midnight and I went, I've got like 150 pages left. I can do this. I just carried on reading. I loved this book. I think it is an absolute gem of a thriller. It doesn't read too young. I think it's in the vein of a little bit of Holly Jackson, but I actually enjoyed this even more than like A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, but it's that sort of thing. You know what? I just think that this is fantastic and you need to read it. You still here? So I am going to talk about one that a couple of people, actually I'll just talk about these in tandem because it's the same author. Now a couple of people have talked about this, or has been on a couple of TBRs, but not too many. So also because I freaking love this book, this is my new 6-star read, I'm going to talk about it. And then I'm also going to talk about Autumn of the Grimoire, which is the author's J.L. Vamper, which is J.L. Vamper's other book, which literally has the word autumn in the title, right? And I think it's perfect for the season because it literally is about Sister Autumn. And no one's talked about this. So why? And as witches, and it's like, it's perfect. So let's talk about both. Let's talk about this one first. So Exorcism of Fairies. This is set in the 90s in Dublin. Again, it is literally set in autumn. It is set in this time of year. It has Halloween in it. And it is about the Trinity College Dublin. It's set in Trinity College Dublin, so it's also dark academia. And our main male character, he's the professor of morbid, like, medicine. There's a certain word for it. I'm trying to remember. Morbid anatomy, that's the word. He's a professor there. And our main female character, she's actually studying botany. But she is the daughter of morticians, so she's been around bodies all her life and dissecting those fellas. And there's also this plague currently happening in Dublin, and everybody's trying to figure out what is going on, what is causing the plague, how to get rid of it, including Trinity College Dublin. And there's also a secret society that literally wear plague masks, you know, those old-fashioned Venetian plague doctor masks, so cool. And she, to make money, our main female character, she sells bodies to the secret society, which is a really cool and spooky way to open up this book. It's really cool. But what happens throughout this book is they are trying to figure out how to cure this plague and what's actually causing this plague. Because look at the title, okay? I don't think I'm giving anything away by saying it may not be completely natural. We're not talking the virus, okay? We're not talking the common cold here. This is dark, it is spooky, it is gross in certain parts. It is dark academia, it is teacher-student, professor-student, romance, which is my favorite. They are all of age. It is set in the 90s, it is set in Dublin, it is set during this season, it is immaculate. I mean, the vibe, this is the vibe, it's like J.L. Vamper wrote a book just for me. Yeah, thanks, J.L. Vamper. I appreciate it. Read it. It's incredible. And then, of course, then she wrote another book for me. I'm like, damn, girl. So this is Autumn of the Grimoire. And this is the first in a series of... We have these 4 witches. They each rule one of the seasons. So book 2, which I have right over there, is Winter of the Wicked, which I will be reading as soon as it really, really turns cold, because I want to like read them like that, and it'll be on my winter TBR. But they each rule the season, they're each associated with the season, and they have basically been causing, there's this grimoire that tells them what they need to do, each one in turn, and they have kind of controlled major events in this world for centuries. And poor Sister Autumn, she always gets the shitty jobs, right? She always gets the, you need to assassinate that prince, or you need to do something really awful. And she's just like, I'm so sick of this. So in the beginning, it's the solstice. They all meet up. That's the only time they can all meet up. And it's like, there's a really funny opening. It's hilarious, the opening. 2 of them are naked because they're swimming, and the other 2 turn up and like, what are you doing? It's really funny. The dynamic between the 4 sisters. But anyway, they're celebrating solstice, and then the grimoire pops up, and Sister Autumn's like, oh God, what do I have to do now? Something really awful. Basically, the grimoire tells her to get married to a prince. And she's like, what? Is this a joke? But no, turns out that is her mission. Now, the other thing about this book is this is like, oh, I don't even know how to explain this. This is like witchy, supernatural, but also fantasy arranged marriage meets cozy but dark vibes, because it is hilarious. Our protagonist, Sister Autumn, what I love about her is she is, first of all, she is a woman. She ain't a girl. She ain't a teenager. She is a woman. She's, in fact, she's centuries old, but she is a woman, right? Because each one of them, where they live, is like their season, right? So when she goes back to her house, it's autumn, it's pumpkin, everything. She has a pet bat. The bat, he eats the floating fruit that she floats across to him, and he talks to it. Oh, the floating bat. Anyway, the bat familiar is the best. Her whole vibe, her whole house is just immaculate. Like I said, she is also a woman. She's also not a teeny tiny. Oh, she's 5 foot and really frail. No. And actually, I'm currently reading another book where we've got a similar protagonist, and I'm loving seeing women that are not 5 foot tall skeletons as the main characters. She loves to eat. The girl loves to eat, and I love seeing it. But she then sets off to this kingdom to fulfill this prophecy of having to marry the prince. He doesn't want to do it. She doesn't want to do it. She doesn't even know why. And our story kind of goes from there, and you find out what's going on in this world, why she needs to marry this prince. It's humorous. It's dark. It's, oh, vibey. Like I said, it's like a cozy, dark fantasy romance. J.L. Vamper is my new favorite author. She's just, I am going to sneak this in because I realize Hemlock and Silver is not an underrated, under-talked about, but again, not many people have recommended it yet because I don't think many people have read it. It's just come out. I am halfway through this book, and oh my god, T. Kingfisher has done it again. This is probably my favorite T. Kingfisher currently, but it's brilliant. So, Hemlock and Silver. This is about our protagonist who, she got really interested. I think it was her cousin that died of poison. And she got really, really interested in curing diseases. And she uses like poisons to cure things. Kind of like the poisoner, if you've read the Abbey. But she is looking for antidotes. And she tries out all these different things on herself. She keeps a pet snake so she can milk the snake for it. It's very cool. It freaks everybody the hell out. And of course, she's also, I think, 30 odd or almost 40, and again, she is not a small girl, and she doesn't give a fuck what people think of her, because she's all about studying, she's all about the mind, she's all about what she can do and not how she looks. Love you, girl. With you, girl. And one day she's just happy to be in the background, helping to cure people, studying her poisons, and then the king knocks on her door. Yes, and he's like, my daughter Snow is ill, we cannot figure out what's wrong with her. Can you come? We think she may be poisoned. You're the best, apparently. Come to this estate of mine to help cure her. And she doesn't really want to do it, but she's just like, the king, I can't say no, right? It's not really an option. So off she goes on this trek with the king to find out what's happening to Snow, and the story goes from there. I love this so far. I'm halfway through, but if it goes as well for the rest of the book, this is going to be a 5-6 star read for me. I love everything about this. Obviously, as you can imagine, Snow, it's a take on the Snow White fairy tale as well. So, you know how I feel about twisted fairy tales. But oh my gosh, I at this point, I'm hugely recommending it. If you're still with me, hello, hi. I have 2 more books to recommend. So, I have spoken about these a little bit, so that's why I've left them to last. So if you want to go and you've heard me talk about these, thank you so much for joining me. Please leave me a autumn themed emoji down below, and I love you a lot. Please subscribe, please come back, thank you. But if you haven't heard about these, please stay. So these are witch books, and like I said, I have spoken about them in my witch video, but no one else talks about them, so I'm going to talk about them. And this is Wild and Wicked Things. This is by Francesca May. This is, again, set in the 20s, and it's about a woman that goes to her father passes away, and he's been living on this island, Crow Island, and it's kind of said that there's this group of witches that live there. There's this house where they throw all these, I think Gatsby-ish, parties and mythology around these parties, but that that's 2 women and a boy who live at this house, and they are witches. And there is this thing about, like, witchcraft is known but not accepted, so you have to hide if you are a witch. But she goes off to this island because her father was living there and he's now passed away, and she's got to like take care of his affairs. So similar to An Inquiry in Love in the beginning. And she hires a cottage, and it's next door to this house that throws all these parties. And then, like, on her first night there, she sees them having this party. Like I said, it's very, I would say this, I don't know if it's explicitly said, but to me this is very Gatsby coded. Gatsby, if you don't know, is my favorite classic, is one of my favorite books of all time. Satan tier book for me, right? And I love anything that's Gatsby inspired. And then she sort of slowly starts to uncover what her father's secrets are, what is going on with these witches. And she also encounters her best friend who moved to the island as well and got married. And she thinks everything's fine and hunky-dory with her best friend, and then it turns out it may not be. And there may be magic involved. And the latter half, the second half of this book, oh wow, if you've seen the film Practical Magic and what happens to Jilly's boyfriend and what Jilly and Sally need to do to try and bring back, resurrect her boyfriend. I was reading that scene in this book and I was like, oh my god, that's so Practical Magic. It's fabulous. So this is like Practical Magic meets Gatsby meets the 20s meets, oh, it's just so good. Like, oh, my voice went up. I loved this book. I hugely recommend it. If you want something different, something historical, witchy, but not like 1800s historical, oh, read this. And then the other witchy book that I don't hear anybody talking about, I think this is like 200 ratings on Goodreads, is Whispers Most Foul. And I can't quite figure out why. So this is by Emma MacDonald. I love this book. This is, again, dark academia. It's set at Dunhollow Academy, which is a academy for witchcraft. And our main character is the daughter of the headmaster. And she is terrible at practical magic. She's very good at theoretical book study, but she can't cast. And this is a thorn in her mother's side. But there's also, in the beginning, this starts again in autumn. And she's in the library, because she's always in the library, and she sees, I love her, she sees in the glass the face of a girl, and it turns out that this is a girl that has gone missing. She's all on all of the missing posters, so she's like, oh my gosh, I'm seeing a ghost. No one else can see this girl. And she thinks she's going mad, and she's trying to figure out what's happening. She enlists the help of her best friend, and then another girl goes missing, and you start to kind of unravel and uncover what's going on in this world. Think secret societies, think experiments. Like I said, it's very dark academia. It's very dark, very, again, I think this is meant to be YA, but yowzers, there are some scenes in here where I was like, whoa, okay, that is dark. Even I thought it was dark, but it was good. So these definitely lean more into spooky season, but I just think, again, because of the time it's set and that dark academia vibe, it's perfect for the season now. It's just perfect. And if you want to read a book that no one else is reading, probably not got a lot of holes in the library. So there you go. And a second book, which I definitely am going to read because I want to know what else happens in this world. And this does end in a way that you could just read this one. You don't, like, it's not one of those crazy cliffhangers, but I do want to know, because the second book is billed as like the return to Dunhollow. So I do want to read the second book because I enjoyed the first one so much. I think it comes out in November. So not a long wait if you do want to read the second one. Like I said, if you're still here, give me an autumn themed emoji. And thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye.